Hi. So, excuse me. Hello. Um, we're down in the Italian Renaissance Garden in the Hamilton Gardens, and I'll get to what we brought you here down here in a minute. It's quite cold where I am right now. Right here, it's 7 degrees Celsius, and for those of you in the States and other places that use Fahrenheit, that's 44. So even though it's bright and sunny, it's really cold. Okay, so definitely not the summer of heroes, definitely the winter of warriors. We're in Alma this week for 31 and 30 and 31. It's only 2 chapters this week, so it's a really good place to sort of start if you want to pick up again if you've sort of lapsed a little. We're going to start in Alma 30, and that's talking about Korihor. And Korihor was an antichrist. And in verse 6, it actually says that, if you go and have a look, it says that the 17th year, a man came into the land of Zarahemla, and he was antichrist, so he was against Christ. In this instance, it means against, whereas last week we talked about the anti-Nephi-Lehi's and talked that in that instance it wasn't against, it was just separate from. So this instance, it is the Greek prefix anti, and he was against Christ. And he puts forth a whole bunch of arguments, having been deceived, as we read later on, by an angel that was actually from Satan, or could have been Satan himself, who knows. Poor man, but he really believed it. And I think one of the reasons he believed it so much is that he didn't know Christ, which was why Alma was able to rebuke his arguments, because he knew Christ. So if we read in verse 40, this is where we're going to go. Because Korihor was arguing that there was no Christ and no God, and saying, how can you prove there's a God? And like I've heard that argument given to me, and I've heard it in the world too, so you've probably heard it as well. How can you prove there's a God? And Alma comes back in verse 40 and says, and now what evidence have you that there isn't a God, or is no God, or that Christ cometh not? I say unto you that ye have none, save it be your word only. And in verse 41 he bears testimony of Christ. And in verse 42 he says, I think you're possessed by a lying spirit, and that the devil's doing his work in you. And Korihor was so caught up in the focus that he had that he doesn't give any thought that maybe, just maybe, he might be wrong and listen to Alma. No, he's so caught up, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think he knew Jesus Christ. And in verse 44 it talks about, Alma says, even the fact that the end part of it, all things to note there is a God, yea, even the earth and all things upon the face of it, and its motion, yea, and also all the planets which move in their regular form, do witness that there is a supreme creator. And this is why I kind of brought you down to the Italian garden, because this week, and don't miss this, David Butler gave a really, and I just laughed and laughed and laughed. It was beautiful. It's so him. It's really funny about how he just saw this orange seed. You can put it on the counter and it does nothing, but you plant it and it becomes an orange tree. And how does that happen? We can talk all the science in the world, but we know where that science came from. It had to come from somewhere. It didn't just happen. It's not magic. It's divine design. And so the Italian garden here, where I got married, by the way, just FYI, of course, winter here we get lots of citrus. We get citrus twice a year here in New Zealand, quite blessed like that. There's a bunch of orange trees all growing down there, and we'll go have a look at those later in a couple of the other videos we'll do this week. But that's why I thought to bring me down here. But you look at an orange and you consider, you start pulling that apart, because what's really funny to David said, here's lunch from Heavenly Father, all wrapped up for you. It's kind of cool, right? If you don't miss this, you'll like that. But yeah, that's what I just brought you down here for, to think about that. You look at that orange and you start pulling it apart, and you try and deny that there wasn't something bigger than just an accident that created that. Think about it. But we'll always hear arguments for and against this, and I still believe, and I think something that a lot of you will agree on, it's in knowing Jesus Christ that other truths are evident. All the truths, nature, everything that we see. It's in knowing him and knowing who he is that these things become really clear, and they're quite easy to testify of, and there's no denying it. when you know him. So it's in knowing him that you get that stronger testimony, and you're able to put off the arguments of those. And like Alma wasn't even arguing. He's just like saying, yeah, think about these things. So have a look at that one. Fortunately, Corey Hall meets a horrible end. Can't give up, keeps wanting a sign. And we're going to talk about that next. So bear with me, and I'm going to go down by the fountain, I think. There was just a wedding here. Another one. It's a popular place to get married. So the people are still milling around, but we'll go for there. Okay.